Today we're breaking down the three major grip styles and their hybrids so you can figure out which one suits you best. Alright, let's first talk about the three major grip styles. So, palm grip is going to be the most natural and relaxed way I would say to hold your mouse. Your whole hand sits and rests on the shell and maximizes surface contact. Your fingers stay straight and flat across the buttons, and this gives you that comfort and stability feeling. Now, fingertip grip, this one keeps your palm completely off the mouse. Your fingers do all of the work here. Every movement, every adjustment, that comes from your fingertips. Now, noticeably here, there's no real palm contact in the purest definition of fingertip grip, so that's just one thing to point out. Claw grip is a little bit different, so this one sparks some slight debate. Some people split it into palm claw versus pure claw, but at its core, the claw grip means arching your fingers so that they form a curve over the top of the mouse. Unlike the palm grip, where you're maximizing surface area, in claw grip, usually people who define it with some form of palm contact are defining it just so in a way where you're not really maximizing contact between your palm and the mouse. So what are sort of the advantages and disadvantages of each? The palm grip, again, carries with it a lot of that stability and control. This grip style is really great for long sessions because it's so comfortable. It's also really good if you're a big arm aimer, so for example, if you play really low sensitivity, this can really help you hit a lot of those flicks. What are the downsides of palm grip? Well, since your hand is kind of swallowing the entire mouse, there's not a lot of room for micro adjustments to do just with your fingers. So if you happen to need to do a lot of very, very small movements and need to have that in a very controlled fashion, palm grip is not going to give you that maneuverability. Fingertip grip, understandably, is kind of the opposite, right? So you have a lot of that inner hand maneuverability. At the same time, your palm is not planted on the mouse at all. So what that really means is that you kind of lack that stability. If you need to be able to hold an angle, make a small micro adjustment, and then hold that as well, you might struggle in those situations. Claw grip for some is kind of seen as the perfect balance between both fingertip and palm grip, simply because you have some form of stability if you mount your hand on the back of the mouse, and then keeping your fingers locked into this loaded position, what that allows you to do is create some small micro adjustments in case you need to flick up, left, or right. Granted, you won't have the same amount of control as you would with palm grip, at least in an untrained perspective, primarily because you are not maximizing the amount of surface area between your hand and the mouse, and you're not going to have the same level of fingertip maneuverability because you can't really flick downward as much, and the amount that you can go left or right is going to be limited. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about hybrid grips. So not everyone's going to fit neatly into just one category. In fact, I would say the majority of players use a hybrid of at least two of these grip styles. So that's where the hybrid grips come in. There's really four kinds of hybrid grips. So I would say there's a fingertip palm grip. This is kind of defined by straight fingers, as in like both palm and fingertip grip, but there is some form of palm contact. So you can kind of think of it as like this halfway point between comfort and precision. Usually, I think some people will have some form of mounting on the right-hand side of the mouse, like in this example. Other folks might flop it to the other side, right? So you might stick the left side of the mouse into the meat of your palm. I would say both of these are kind of hybrids between fingertip and palm grip. There's also the fingertip claw hybrid. This is kind of where your fingertips are bent, but the palm doesn't really touch the mouse at all. So this gives you kind of that locked, look of the claw grip, but you also are controlling the mouse just with your fingertips. I think in some people's definitions, this could be referred to as the purest form of claw grip, although if we're defining it based on the number of contact points, right, we are really only making contact with the tips of our fingers. This should be defined as a fingertip claw grip. Lastly, there's sort of palm claw hybrid, so that's kind of what we were referring to. So a little bit more of that contact between the palm and the mouse, maximizing surface area a little bit more than if we were to just do the regular claw grip, and we're arching the fingers. Again, keeping that sort of locked and loaded position. Now, there technically is sort of an all-three hybrid as well, so I just want to point that out. This usually means bent fingers in the sense of claw grip. Your palm might have some partial contact, but the movements primarily come from the fingers. So which grip is best? Honestly, there's no universal winner here. It all really comes down to your hand size, mouse shape, play style, and then of course the mouse that you're using as well. Generally speaking, I would say palm is king for comfort, claw is sort of your balance, and then fingertip is going to be maximum agility. So I don't know if there's a specific way to find the best grip style for you. What might be the most comfortable might not necessarily be the grip style that you aim best with. So I think really the key is experimenting and finding out what feels most natural over a longer period of time. Just to sort of round out this video, I kind of use this palm claw hybrid. I appreciate sort of the locked in fingers and some minimal dexterity, but I think a lot of my stability comes from rooting the base of my palm into the mouse as well. So this is how I hold my mouse. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.